Welcome back. In this lecture, you will learn how to automate your ads by using something known as Rules. Rules is an ads manager feature that basically allows you to set up triggers and conditions, right? In other words, if this happens, then do that. It allows you to automate a lot of your ads, which is a fantastic thing if you're running a lot of ads, or if you have something more important to do than sitting around and looking at your ad results day in and day out. Maybe you have a website to run, a blog to write, a work to go to, an e-commerce to run, maybe you just got a business you would rather run. So if you want to know how to automate your Facebook ads, sit around, stick with me, and let's dive into it. Now, when you hear the word rules, it's not a very exciting thing, is it? But when it comes to Facebook ads, it is a quite exciting thing. Usually you get more excited when you hear the word automation. So that is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to set up different rules for Facebook to follow so that they can automatically automate things the way you want them to be, right? Let's take it from the very beginning. I'll show you some of the different things you can do and how to set them up. So starting off in our ads manager, we can either set up rules to our campaigns or we can set them to our ad sets. Now I'm going to start off by setting up some rules to this ad set because there are more rules you can add to an ad set than a campaign, all right? So I'm going to start off by selecting the ad set that I want to set a rule to and then go up to rules right here and then click on create a new rule, all right? So I'm going to click there and this is where the fun begins. And there are so many different things we can do here, so I'm just going to show you a couple of different things and then we're going to set a couple of rules up, all right? So first up is the rule name. We're going to leave that one because first of all, we're going to want to see what kind of rule we're setting up and then we're going to add in the name. And the rule name is also only for your eyes, right? It's only for you when you are looking to apply the same rule to other ad sets or other ad designs or ad campaigns later on. And then apply rule to. What do you want to apply the rule to? Now we selected this ad set, so we are going to be using the rule to that ad set. You could select multiple ad sets, or you could go with all active campaigns or all active ad sets, all active ads, etc. Basically, which one do you want to get this rule? And then the action, what is it that you want to happen? And this is very exciting, right? Because when we're setting rules, there are two parts. Number one is going to be, what do you want to happen, right? And that is the action. So that is the first part. Do you want the ad set to be turned off? Do you want the ad set to be turned on? Do you want to get a notification? Do you want to increase your daily budget? Do you want to decrease your daily budget? So the action is, what do you want to happen? So for this example, let's say what we want to happen is that we want the daily budget to increase. All right, so I'm going to set that. And we're going to set it up at increase daily budget to 10%. And then we're going to set a maximum daily budget cap, making sure that we don't go overboard with the too crazy of a daily budget. Because remember, we already have a daily budget, but now we're looking to increase it by 10%. So Facebook is asking, okay, I understand that you're going to want to increase it over time, but what is the maximum that you want to increase by? So at the very least, you're going to want to double your daily budget here. So let's say, for example, that you have a daily budget of $5, you're going to want to add in at least 10. If you have 10, you're going to want to add in at least 20. But even if you have 5, you could add in 20. So for this, I'm just going to add in 20. And then action frequency is going to be, how often do you want this to occur? Now the default is going to be every 12 hours, and that is a pretty good thing to go with, because if you add this once hourly, well, that means that your daily budget could go up 10% by 1 hour, 10% the next hour, 10% the next hour, 10% the next hour. It's just too fast of a scale. But if you go by every 12th hour, that's a much more steady way to scale an ad set and scaling your ads overall. So we're going to leave it at default, which is every 12 hours. All right, so at this point, Facebook is saying, okay, fantastic. So we know step number one. We know what you want. You want to increase your daily budget by 10% for this ad set. All right, that's great. Now, question number two is when, right? When do you want to increase your daily budget by 10%? What is the trigger? When do you want us to actually do that? And that is when we set the condition, right? So going down, we're going to set this condition, and basically the condition is going to be up to us. Now, a very common condition to set is going to be cost per result. And cost per result, that is a collective term. So cost per result could be cost per impression, if that's the what you have chosen. as your strategy. It could be cost per click, it could be cost per video views, etc., etc. So it depends on what kind of ad set and what kind of bidding strategy and objective that you have got going. So cost per result is a collective term, right? But you could also click here, and as you can see, there's a lot of different options. And we could also search for click and pay for a cost per unique click, for example. But we're going to stick by cost per result. So next up, it says, okay, so number one is cost per result. That is the first condition that we've set. And the next one is greater than. Now, we don't want to increase our budget by 10% if our cost per result is actually going up. Quite the contrary, we want to select this one and go to is smaller than, right? So if we see that our costs are going down, if our cost per result are going down, well, that's when we want to scale and increase our budget, all right? So I'm going to write here is smaller than 0.35. So that's going to be 35 cents. And then I'm going to click on add. So let's review what we have done at this point, okay? Let's go from the very top, because I know that this is a lot to take in, but it is very easy once it kind of clicks, right? So first of all, we've applied the rule to an ad set that we selected. And we have basically told Facebook at this point, hey, we want to have our daily budget increased by 10%, right? We want this to be increased by 10% every 12th hour if our cost per result is lower than 35 cents, all right? So we want to increase our daily budget by 10% every 12th hour if our cost per result is lower than 35 cents. Very exciting, right? So that is added, and you can see that run right here. If you want to remove it, you click here. If you want to add something else, you click right here. Now, they added something automatically for us, and it says lifetime impressions is higher than 8,000. So basically, Facebook added this one in that says, all right, this rule will only apply once you have gotten at least 8,000 impressions. And the reason for that is the learning phase. Remember, we've spoken about that before, that the Facebook pixel and Facebook ads, they need a couple of days in order to really get their stuff straightened out. So once they have gotten usually 3 days, that is when you optimize, and that is when you're getting some data. So this basically says that, hey, you want to collect at least 8,000 impressions before this rule starts to apply. You don't need it. If you want to remove it, you click here, but it's a pretty good thing to have. So then you can get some more solid data before you actually apply this, this type of rule. All right, so scrolling down, we have something that says time range. So the time range is asking from where do you want us to do the calculation, right? So let's say that we have been running this ad set for 1 year. So if I would put lifetime, and then I say, oh, I want to scale our budget by 10% whenever our cost per result is below 35 cents. That's great. But if we are counting from a lifetime, well, that means it's going to have to take many, many, many months potentially before they reach there. But that's not very relevant, is it? We only want to know what is happening lately. So it makes a lot more sense to choose a time frame such as the last 7 days, because if you can look on a weekly basis to see what is going on, that is going to make much more sense to calculate from, right? So because if you are using a lifetime, well, say the ad has been really great for many months, but now it's really bad. Well, Facebook isn't going to know that because it's looking at the lifetime value of it. So it's going to say, hey, you know, even though your cost per result is actually really, really low, we're still not going to increase your budget because we're looking at it from a lifetime. So time range, I recommend keeping it shorter. 7 days is good. Next up, we have attribution window. And the attribution window basically says, okay, how do we want to calculate and count something? For example, the default is going to be that if someone sees your ad and then goes into your website, that person is going to count as traffic that was affected by your ad. A viewer has 1 day to be counted as traffic from your ad, right? And when it comes to click, the default is going to be 28 days. So let's say that someone clicked on your ad, or someone just reacted to an ad that you had, and then 15 days later they go to your website. Well, in the statistics, they're still going to count as that being a result from the ad, right? So attribution means what do we want to attribute the traffic from? When do we calculate it as organic, and when do we calculate it as from the ad? This is overkill with information. I just want you to know this. We don't have to touch this whatsoever, all right? That is attribution. Next up is schedule. Basically, when do you want Facebook to check for this rule? When to actually apply it? You can have it continuously, every 30 minutes or daily. Now, doesn't matter that much, right? Because we still have the action frequency at 12 hours. But if we do this continuously, or that's going to be every half an hour, that still means that it's going to check for this criteria every half an hour. So continuously is usually a pretty good way to go. And then scrolling down, we have notification. You're going to get a notification on Facebook whenever a rule triggers, but you can also get an email when you have any condition that is met. And usually that is a good idea. Now down here it says subscriber and it only says my name. However, later on we're going to be creating a Facebook business account and then you can add in multiple subscribers, just so you know that, but not for now. So at this point we know what we have, right? So I'm going to give this rule a name. I'm going to call it increase budget, and then I'm just gonna write like this. We can do 10% at. So now we know what it does and when it does it. And then I'm going to click on create, just like that. And now we have created it. Awesome. You don't see any sign of it here, but what we can do is that we can go to rules and then we can go to manage rules. And then we're going to see in this nice little Facebook library all of the different rules we have and what they do, what the actions and conditions are, when the rule runs, when it was created, etc. Then you can go to the right and you can edit it, you can run it, you can delete it. But so let's continue on. I want to show you some more interesting rules that you can create. So I mean, the sky is the limit here, right? This is for your optimization. And this is really good if you have better things to do than sitting around and analyzing and doing Facebook ads all day. If you're running an agency, well, chances are you're probably going to be here all days anyway. So you might not need the rules quite as much. But if you have an e-commerce, so you have an online business, you want to automate as many things as you possibly can. And this is one of those things you really want to automate, right? So let's click on create rule and we're going to create another rule. And let's call this one decrease budget by 10% at 0.5. So at this rule, what I want to do is that I want to decrease the budget whenever the cost per result is over 50 cents. All right, so I'm going to apply this to all active ad sets. We only have one ad set anyway. Otherwise, we have to go to Ads Manager and select the one we want. And then I'm going to go here to action and I'm going to select decrease daily budget by. And once again, I'm going to double my budget just like before, just so we make sure that we're on the same page. Not going to touch the action frequency. Cost per result is greater than 0.50, so 50 cents, right? Still lifetime impression, same thing, that's fine. Time range, I'm going to leave it for 7 days. Not going to play, I'm going to set this to schedule. Oh, and we also have to write in how much. And decrease by 10%. And there we go. All right, so apply rule to all active ad sets. We decrease the budget by 10%. We could also choose by dollars, but we're going to go with percent here. Maximum daily 20. All right, conditions are set. Time range is set. Attribution we don't touch. Schedule is set to continuously. Notifications, I'm going to click on create. Fantastic. Now, what I could also do here is that I could create yet another rule to actually turn off the ad set if it reaches, for example, 80 cents. What I want to show you is also another thing, but we don't only have to play with the budget. We can also play with other factors such as frequency 2.5, I'm going to call this. And this is kind of a classical, let's say a classical advertising rules that people that tend to see ads 2 to 3 times, they get something known as banner blindness or advertising fatigue. Basically that you might show an ad and they know it from before, but they just don't care anymore, right? They've seen it before, they've already learned to ignore it. Their eyes don't even catch it, doesn't draw their attention. And that's called banner blindness or advertising fatigue. So whenever the frequency meaning how many times they've seen an ad, is at 2.5, meaning, of course you can't see an ad half of a time, but 2.5 overall for the entire set, that the general average of the person seeing our ad is reaching 2.5, that's a good time to turn off the campaign, all right? So I'm going to have the rule name frequency 2.5. I'm going to apply this rule to all active campaigns. I'm going to have the action as turn off campaigns. Going down, I'm going to change this to frequency is greater than 2.5. I'm going to click on add, just like that. I'm going to set the time range for lifetime or 7 days. I'm gonna go with 7 days for this one as well, and then attribution and the schedule continuously, and everything is set, and then I just click on create, and I have this rule as well. So without further ado, this is how you create and automate your Facebook ads. It's a super handy tool. Now remember, there's a lot of different ways that you can customize, and it's going to be up to your creativity and up to the strategies that you're going to be learning later and that you need to apply for yourself. That's going to decide on what kind of rules you want to add, if you want to add or use rules at all. A lot of people never use rules, and that's fine. It's going to depend on your automation, but the more stuff you have to do, the less time you actually have to spend here, the better it is to automate, right? So if you're an agency, maybe you have a less of a need, but if you're running an online business, you probably really want to add some rules, right? So finally, if you click on this plus, again, the sky is the limit. This is going to be completely up to you what kind of rules you add. The final thing I want to show you here is that if you want to add in something specifically for this rule, then you go to the right here and click here. You can see that then you can add in the objective level for the ad set, or campaign, and you can choose a time range for this rule specifically, right? If you decide not to use this one, then we're going to use the time range that is used globally here. But if you want to have a specific time range for a specific rule, you can set that in, and you can also set in a specific level. So it's just a way to add specificity should you want to add in that. All right, so I'm happy with this. I'm going to click on create. There we go. We've just added 3 rules, right? One to all of our active campaigns, one to all of our active ad sets, and one to one ad set specifically. If we want to turn them off, we just click here as usual. And if we want to delete them, we just click here. We can edit them. We can run them because now they're scheduled. They're not actually running. And then we can delete them. All right. And again, if we want to go back to our Ads Manager, we go up here, we click on Ads Manager, and we are back to where we started. So this is how to use rules. If you have any questions whatsoever, will be in the Q&A. For now, let's continue on to the next lecture. See you in the next lecture.